What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon final game of the year, really, for international rugby. Final video, potentially in this house, because I'm actually meant to be moving this week, so we'll say goodbye to the background that has been in these videos for so many years now, with me moving house. And what a final game to end on, right? Wales versus South Africa went the way everybody expected, probably at this point. We'll go over today, of course. We've got the Super Bru results. We can announce our champion, your guys' predictions, along with my own, which technically wasn't real for me, but we'll get into that afterwards. We'll go over some thoughts on the game, because there's literally one game to talk about, and some thoughts around that match, some of the key areas, and just some takeaways from it. We'll go over the etzebeth. The red card, of course we're going to talk about that. It's all anyone's going to talk about. Kind of overshadowed an otherwise very, very, very good performance by South Africa. We'll go over that a little bit and talk about the game, and of course announce our champion of the Super Bru for our autumn series. So we'll have a bit of a score. Let's start out then with the predictions. Now, I was out of this Super Bru. I wasn't even in the top 10. I was nowhere near it. So for the Hail Mary, never going to happen, less than 1% opportunity, threw it down there. I put Wales by 1. Now, never thought that was going to happen. My actual thought was about South Africa. I said 60 in my own head. I sort of had a little internal thing on my own side where I thought, if Wales keep it below 50, I think they would take that as like a bit of a win. I honestly would. I think where they are currently, it sounds really like sort of demoralising. You'd be like, what, Wales versus... People need to remember Wales are 11th in the world now. They barely managed to beat Japan. They're about that level. That's where they are at. South Africa are the world number 1. They put out a really good team that's been on fire this year. It's very, very realistic this was going to be a double figures high-end score. Now, my original thing of, I think, by about 60, certainly thought that Wales would score something. That is scary, to not score anything at all. I did say last week that Wales have turned into this glass cannon team, where basically they can score points, but they're just going to concede more. They're not so much a glass cannon after this game as just glass. And got shattered. Yeah, that was a brutal game. Could have been more. I honestly, I don't think that first half of South Africa was where they wanted it to be. I think they've still got stuff they can work on incredibly for this South Africa team. There is still stuff to improve. There is still areas to get better on. I think that could have been nearing the triple figures had they really landed a few areas correctly. Maybe generated a bit more from the scrums. The scrums weren't as ferocious as I was expecting. They almost gave away issues because they were so desperate to get on the front foot with the scrums. They almost sort of screwed themselves over a bit. But ultimately, a superb game from South Africa. Managed really well, defended. Even at the end of the game, didn't switch off, didn't say, 73 up, whatever. If they get over, they get over. They really wanted to hold that to a 0, and so many big positives for this South Africa team to take away. Really enjoyed Siya Kolisi after the game. For anyone who sort of stayed around after the game, you sort of watched those post-match interviews and stuff. I really like Siya Kolisi as a bloke. He seems such a humble guy. He was talking, it's like, we are the number 1 team. We came over to Wales, but this is what Wales can expect. This is what this team needs. This is what these players need. This is where South Africa found themselves in 2017. He was talking about people were burning the South African shirts and everyone hated them. And they had to get through it. It took them 2 years to break through it. And was sort of saying, we've been where Wales are. And, we are the sort of showcase of what Wales can bounce back to. And I really like that. I really like that from an opposition player where you've absolutely decimated a team to say, don't be mad at these guys. They are trying to get somewhere. They deserve the time to sort of do it. And I had quite a lot of respect for Siya Kolisi after that game. But it was just going to be this score, wasn't it? It's one of those games where you sort of sit back and you go, I genuinely don't know. I don't know what either team learned from this. An honest opinion. I'm always just honest in these videos. I don't care who you support or whatever reason. I've always thought of, try and think of it as like a rugby fan first. I don't know what South Africa learnt there, apart from they're much better than the 11th team in the world. A nil scoreline is really good. They'll be really happy with that. I think there's certainly areas they can still work on. There's still discipline issues they can talk about, and I still think Wales could have maybe taken a 3 at any point just to have put something on the board. I think there's, some positives to take there. From a Wales standpoint, though, this game was always going to be this. It was always going to be this. I didn't think it would be to 0, but it's so weird to look at the Scottish lineup of games that they had for this autumn series, where they took on USA, they took on Tonga, and they're obliterating those games. It's they're doing what South Africa did to Wales, they're doing it to Tonga and USA. And you think, well, why are Scotland playing those matches? Why aren't Wales playing those matches? There'd be much more to learn. It would be much better for this team of players trying to gel together with a new coaching staff. You're trying to build something. Getting decimated by the number one team in the world after you've also lost all your players back to club level and you're just trying to mash a team together, doesn't feel useful. Whereas playing a team like Tonga would still give you a really challenging physical squad to take on, but you also have the ability to put some of those key plays into action. You get to play USA, who are, again, they've got their own league. There's a team beginning to build there. That would be a really nice test for this Wales team to be able to take on. Maybe they're able to get some more wins there. Maybe there's meant to be a bit of a confidence boost, and maybe that sort of leads forward for that Wales team. But ultimately, there's I don't know what they take away from that personally. Other than they just feel demoralised. They have a historic loss at home, the second worst loss of all time. I don't know what that does to you confidence-wise and mentally-wise as a player to sit back and go, I was so glad to have been part of that team, to have learned something. I don't know. I just don't know what that does for your team, for the game. I don't know how that helps. That's my own honest opinion, what have you. But South Africa, very, very dominant, very, very good. A lot of just brutal players in that squad. Absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I do think the scrum should have actually generated them a bit more. I actually had a little preliminary guess at this game. I thought scrums might end up being uncontested because from watching the Ireland South Africa game when South Africa have just inhuman at the scrums. I expected Wales to get so many yellow cards at the scrum, they would run out of props. And therefore they would become uncontestable, and therefore it sort of takes that weapon away from South Africa a bit. But I thought that was where this game was going to get to. It didn't get there eventually. Let's have a look at the results then. First of all, what we got on the thing. Now, only 3 of us go for the Wales. We're already down. You're already down in the Super Bru. It doesn't matter. Throw the Hail Mary, sort of get downrange and go for it. Why not? It's never going to happen. But, worth doing it. If it happened to come in, 50-1 with the odds, 50-1 place. I think they were good odds. I think it should have probably been a little bit more. Where did you want to be? Did anyone go all the way out? Here is the question. Someone went all the way. 2 people. Bristolian Bear went out to 64 points. And taking the full bonus point all to yourself. The Beast, who normally goes for those forfeit points, all the way went up to 99. And could have been some major points. Well done to Bristolian Bear. Well done to everybody, because everyone thought South Africa was going to win that one, right? The rounds that we already did. Let's talk about the etzebeth incident, shall we? Because there's a lot going on here, and again, like I said, I always just want to give my honest opinion. I don't care who you support. I don't care who I support. I feel like as a rugby fan, you should be able to look at incidents and have an honest opinion about stuff, right? I saw this happen in the game, and I was like, there's a red card. What has he done that for? What an astonishing move. Now, etzebeth, I think, is one of the greatest world-class locks ever. in rugby. He's been in my team of the years. He's been in like my ultimate teams and stuff. I really like etzebeth as like a player and what he brings to that team. There's not a great deal of the enforcer roles left in rugby, if that makes sense. It's beginning to, I don't know, kind of die out because the aggression, certain players are getting picked up more and more for it, right? Now, etzebeth is massively capped. He's getting on in his age now. He's a massively experienced player. He knows he can't do this, right? We all remember the etzebeth and the Alan Alatoa, the face of death and the absolute fear of God that man would put into you, right? He loves the rough stuff. He loves trying to get under people's skin and do stuff, right? You can do it in a safe manner. This is stupidity. There's nothing else to it, right? That is, you have seen the red mist and you are going beyond. I cannot believe there is controversy around this in the online space. That is astonishing to me. I don't think it matters who you support, where you're from, whether it's club, whether it's international. There are certain core values in rugby and things that happen in rugby you should be able to dismiss and say, that is awful. That is a red card, and you deserve every consequence that comes from it. There should not be an arguable moment. This is someone jamming a thumb into someone's eye, and it is. I've seen a couple of arguments that people have given online as to why it shouldn't be considered that. It is. It just is. It's insanity. His fingers are clenched around the side of his head. He's drilling his thumb in. He knows what he's doing. That is a red card, and you deserve a massive ban. You just do. Does not matter if you're a South Africa fan. Doesn't matter if you're the biggest Springboks supporter in the world. You should be able to say, that is awful. You should never do that in a game of rugby, right? Now, if you find my channel in the world of the rugby YouTube, right, you're probably a big rugby fan. You know, you're not just, you know, happy with the big YouTubers, right? You've gone beyond. You want more information. You want to gather more about rugby, right? You've gone on and found this little channel like mine, right? You're clearly already a rugby fan, and I imagine most subscribers on my channel would probably, whether you are a South African supporter or not, and I've got a lot of fantastic South African supporters that are very, very fair in their analysis of a game, would say that is awful. And that should be red carded, right? And it doesn't just go for this. There are other incidents that do happen that I think universally should be said, you can't do this and you deserve anything that comes to you from this action, right? There was one that went on in the top 14 this weekend as well. This, you can look this one up on the sideline as well. This is a headbutt. A straight up headbutt into the solar plexus of a guy. I've seen the video for this one. I don't even know what caused this. Again, this is a weird red mist, way too aggressive. There's no need for this in the game. I don't know a lot about the top 14. I just saw this clip go around. I was like, again, ban. You deserve an enormous ban. You cannot, to someone not involved in a ruck, not getting over the ball, out of the game, the ball is not even involved, you cannot charge at someone head first like a rhinoceros into their solar plexus and you know, try and cause a serious injury. You can't do it. Deserves a ban. Should be universal. Everyone should just agree it shouldn't need what happened beforehand. What was the cause? It doesn't matter. You can't do that. That should be a ban. And just to show it's not some bias thing as well for, you know, oh, he's got a dragon in the background. He's Welsh. Oh, it's a surprise. I think there's a very good incident that happened this autumn as well. Now, rubbish image because it's really hard to get good images when it's moving photos and stuff, right? Ben Thomas on Pablo Matera. This happened. This is the first game of the autumn for Wales. You've got to cast your mind back a couple of weeks now. Ben Thomas trying to kick Pablo Matera in the face. Now, he missed. He did not hit him with the boot. I still think intent should be something looked at. Did you intend to kick someone? If he makes contact with Pablo Matera's chin when he kicks out, ban! You can't kick people in the face. It does not matter that Pablo Matera is holding onto his leg and holding him into the ruck and a bit of shenanigans. Doesn't matter. If someone else is doing something illegal, it doesn't mean you can retaliate in a far more aggressive fashion and do this thing. It should not matter. And if you're a rugby fan, you should also hold to those core values, right? That you cannot take it that step further. In an international game of rugby, there are cameras everywhere. If something happens off the ball on the ground, you can just stand up and go, sir, have a look at what happened there and get that guy penalty against him or get him a card or whatever, right? You can do that. You don't need to retaliate. You don't need to take it that step further, right? Now, stuff in rugby off the ball just happens. It just happens, right? It's part of the game. It's how it goes, and you've got to be able to deal with it, right? I've still got my fantastic, it's not going to show up very well on camera maybe, my weird broken middle finger from when I played, right? Me on the ground, taken to ground in contact, someone goes over to Jackal, I'm not releasing the ball, so they just snap my finger. It happens! It happens in a game. What I didn't do was get back to my feet, walk up to the guy and jam him in the eye, right? You don't. It happens off the ball. Stuff happens off the ball all the time, right? And you've got to get, you know, that's part of the game of rugby. And if, you know, I didn't have a TMO, I'm out on a field in West Wales, right? You know, I didn't have a TMO. Nobody's seen that on the ground. All I had was my finger facing the wrong way a bit. You know, You can get up and call stuff out, right? Now, this should just be universally said. This is an awful thing, and it should be red carded. I've seen a couple of arguments come out about this, which I just think are awful. There is an image circulating around, which is this, which honestly, I have a massive 4K monitor, right? And I see this picture over on the left-hand side. It's in a blue circle, just in case you can't see it. And they go, look at what happened on the ground. And they say, and I've seen people say, well, there's a finger in the eye there. I can't even make out what that image is. I've heard other stuff saying that the actual image on the left is actually AI, because the image on the right is like what it's from. It's actually Alex Mann's right hand that's like actually pushing him, and he's meant to have bent his middle or his little finger basically back here to have. But to me, if you go to like this level of saying that is warranted, to me, you aren't a rugby fan. You aren't. You're not being honest and true to the game, right? You should never do this in a game of rugby. There's not a bit of me that thinks that's accidental. Even if there's he said, oh, I didn't actually mean to get him in the eye. I was just putting my hands in his face. It's not a thing. If you put your hands in someone's face, you are there for all consequence of anyone. If you drunk a bunch of beers before you went driving and say, well, I didn't mean to crash, doesn't matter. You still went driving, know you'd had the beers, right? You put yourself in the situation. You've got to be held accountable for these things. And then the other side to it is people say, well, actually, Alex Mann was doing stuff on the ground that riled him up, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And it shouldn't matter to anyone watching these sort of things, right? It's even happens in rugby matches where people give away penalties and someone comes and shoves someone on the ground, someone screams in someone's face after the penalty's given, and referees say, the penalty was against them, but because of your reaction, I'm overturning it, and now the penalty's going the other way. That does happen in rugby, right? It's very well established. So I really don't agree with the idea that somebody did something else to someone on the ground, and therefore you're warranted to go and jam someone in the eye. It shouldn't be like that. There's just sort of rules in rugby, that you just can't do to one of the players. And you can blind people. It's a really, really serious thing. Now, if it does come out that Alex Mann on the ground here has also jammed a finger into his eye, and they get some much better images than whatever that one is on the left. If they get some very clear footage and some close-ups, everything is blown up shots of frame-by-frame things, right? If they get some really clear images that Alex Mann has done the exact same thing on the ground, ban him as well. I don't know why that's a controversy, but to use it as like an excuse of why etzebeth doesn't deserve a thing is insanity to me. There was also a background thing, actually, talking about the headbutt. Do also think something that probably is going to end up being looked at is in the background here. You can't see my mouse, but in the background of the etzebeth in the right-hand image here with Alex Mann, they're having a little tuss on the ground. I also have seen a bit of footage where I think Kieran Azarati might have also headbutted someone. Might need to be looked at. I don't know what's going on in rugby this weekend. A lot of ferocious stuff going on. That's my 2 cents on that one, though. I really think it should be a disavowed thing. There is basically no excuse ever for this to me. I don't care who you support, if it's a club, if it's a country, it could be any player in the world. If you end up in this situation where you're going to end up putting a thumb in someone's eye on purpose, there's slight differences if it's, 5 players colliding in attack. In fact, we had one in this game, right? There was the accidental finger in the eye to Aaron Wainwright from Blemtree, right? Both players went in for a tackle. You both swinging arms. You accidentally catch someone. There's slight differences in that. If you can't discern the difference in that, again, you're not a rugby fan to me. You're not. You're desperately trying to find like false equivalencies. This is intentional. You deserve to be banned. I don't know what that'll mean for Evan Etzebeth. In terms of career, international, I don't know how many games you'll get banned for. I've not seen anything about it yet. But I don't. You never want to see someone of Evan Etzebeth's caliber, talent, veterancy in the game get banned. You don't want this to be some sort of career ender for him by any means. I think he's a superb lock. You want to see the best of the best play rugby, right? But you can't stand for that. You can't stand for that, and that deserves, just a massive ban. If it comes out that Alex Mann has also done it, massive ban for him as well. ban everybody that does it. I don't know why that's hard for people to get, but apparently it's the online world, it's Twitter, it's rugby online it's just a terrible place to be sometimes. But that is how it is. Let's finish off then by going over the rounds now. We already sort of did these. Basically, it was the rounds from last week, but everybody picked South Africa, so everybody gained a point basically. So it's going to be basically how it was last week with Steve Cox at the top, but now going up to 16.75. Big H on the 16.5. 8, Pedri and Johnny both on 16, Milan, Mystic Tom, Mikey all on 15.5, Josh 4 on 14.75, AD, Safra HD on 14.5, and then to see us out, Exequias, Dave 61, and Villa Farrell going down. Also, sorry, Exequias actually got the 14.33, slightly above as well, which means we can move on to the leaderboard now. I was not expecting a big surprise in terms of our change of the leaderboard. Tuindwerji, the person with the hardest name in the world to pronounce in this league, but the best picker by far. 31 win points. It's almost perfection across the Ultimate Series, which is actually insane. Finishes in first place on 42 points. Absolutely unbelievable. Well done to Tuindwerji there. Big H still climbing those 8 places on 38.83. Exequias climbs 6 places to get into third on a very respectable 36.66. Martin climbs 2 on 36.08. And Johnny up 22 places up into that 5th place on 36. Bang on. Brim Daddy up 1 on 35.75. Mystic Tom up 17 into 7th place, just cracking that top 10. Great to see from some people making big jumps on 35.5. Rob down 3 but stays in the top 10 on 35.25. Joint with Mark Dunphy up 5 up into the top 10 as well, also on that 35.25. And sealing out the top 10, dropped down 6 places but still stayed in that top 10. Well done to Phil on 35.08. I'll have a scroll down for any big jumpers and climbers. AD Safra HD with 20 places there. Climb Villa Farrell up 14. Josh 4 up 25. Mikey up 29. Pedri up 29. Steed Cox up 29. Milan up 26. A lot of these big jumpers as well, getting that Japan game right against Georgia, of course, allowed you to get that Grand Slam bonus point. 2 big points going your way. I dropped down 14 because of that Wales pick. Won't help me by any means going for that, but I was never going to get in the top 10 by just going for South Africa either. Dave there climbing 18 places, the worst, not the worst, climbed up 11 places. Well done to you, the worst. CT Junior dropping down 13, not your week, unfortunately. Junior, Sharby climbing 15 there, Kian up 8, Scott a Squid up 4, Ali down 48 places, either got every single pick wrong or didn't get your picks in. Not entirely sure. That's an unfortunate drop for you there in that final week. Colordo's Rugby climbing 5 places. Bonjour England, no chance of winning, down 22 into 55th. Any other big droppers? Twindaloo, Keyshawn. Oh, here come the big droppers, unfortunately for all of us guys. Telly, Rugby Crunch there as well, down in 67. Joined me in the Wales pick. Well done to you, Rugby Crunch, going for that underdog pick. And David Wakefield also joined us there in that Wales by 1, hoping for the big upset that was never ever going to happen. Going across it all the way down into last place there. So, congratulations in order there for Steve Cox taking that round, but Tuindwerji was always just out and out smashing this league for this autumn series. Like I said, guys, this is probably the last video we're going to do. It's a superb final game for South Africa. Got a lot of positives for them to take away from that game from a Wales standpoint. Don't even know what you can take away from that game. You aren't as good as the world champions. Who would have guessed? But yeah, that'll probably be the last video from this room, from the spare bedroom is now going, because I'll now be actually moving house this week. So I don't know when we'll get around to any more videos. I kind of want to do something for the World Cup, so I think the World Cup draws are getting announced soon. I need to have a look into that, and I might try and get my whole PC set up at the new place before that. If not, this may well end up being the last video of the year, which would be a shame because we're only just into December. But let me know how you all got on, guys. Let me know what you thought of the Wales-South Africa game. Did it, surprise anyone? Probably not. But let me know what you think of the etzebeth thing. I always just think you should always just give your honest opinion as a rugby fan and not really take into consideration whether you support the team where these things happen or not. That's why I kind of wanted to bring up some of the other incidents with the headbutts and the kicks to the face and all that other stuff. Let me know what you think down in the comment section, because it's always interesting to have a read what other people think. The online space, when you go to the world of Facebook and Twitter, it is just chaos. At least YouTube comment section a little bit more normal. Maybe a bit. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.